It's funny how life's biggest revelations often come on the most ordinary days. For us, it was a rainy Sunday afternoon, the kind where you find yourself digging through old memories just to pass the time. Our daughter Sophie, 8 years old and already as curious as her mother, had been begging to see our engagement video. "Please, Daddy, Mom says you did it at the big fountain with all the lights." She'd been fascinated ever since her friend's older sister got engaged last month. I found the dusty USB drive in our bedroom closet, tucked away in a box labeled Wedding Memories. Emma, my wife of 10 years, was curled up on the couch with her usual Sunday coffee when I walked in, Sophie bouncing excitedly behind me. "Look what we found, Mom," Sophie squealed, climbing onto the couch. I caught a flash of something in Emma's eyes, hesitation, maybe fear. But it disappeared so quickly I convinced myself I'd imagined it. "Everything okay, honey? Just surprised you still have that old thing," she said, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. The video started playing, and for a moment, we were transported back to that magical evening. The fountain at Richardson Park sparkled with thousands of tiny lights, and Emma looked breathtaking in her blue dress. The one she'd chosen specifically because I once mentioned loving her in blue. "You look like a princess, Mom," Sophie gasped. I watched my younger self fumbling with the ring behind my back, so nervous I nearly dropped it twice. My best man, Jake, stood off to the side, supposedly filming but clearly struggling with the camera. The angle kept shifting. "The camera work is terrible." I laughed. Jake never could hold anything steady. Emma didn't laugh. She was staring at the screen with an intensity that made me uncomfortable. Then I saw her hand move toward the remote. "Turn it up," she said quietly, "at 2:13. "What?" "Just, please, Daniel. Turn it up at 2:13. I grabbed the remote, confused but curious. The timestamp showed 2:11, 2:12. At 2:13, while my past self was mid-proposal, a whispered conversation in the background became audible. Jake's voice, speaking to someone just off camera. "It's done." She signed it without reading the fine print. "Your son's assets are protected, Mrs. Harrison." My mother's voice replied, equally hushed. "Good. Daniel's too blinded by love to see what she really is. At least now, when she shows her true colors, he won't lose everything like his father did." The remote slipped from my hand. "Sophie, sweetie." Emma's voice was steady despite the tears I could see forming. "Could you go play in your room for a bit? Mommy and Daddy need to talk. But I want to see the rest." "Now, please." Once Sophie's footsteps faded upstairs, Emma stood up and walked to her desk. The drawer opened with a creak that seemed to echo in the sudden silence. She pulled out a thick envelope, yellowed with age. "I found this last week while cleaning," she said, placing it on the coffee table between us. "Our prenuptial agreement, the one Jake rushed me to sign right before the proposal. He said it was just standard paperwork for the park rental." My hands shook as I opened the envelope. The prenup was unlike anything I'd ever seen. If we divorced, Emma would get nothing, not even her own business assets that she'd built before our marriage. There was even a clause about proven gold-digging attempts that would leave her legally responsible for all marriage-related expenses. 10 years, Emma's voice cracked. "For 10 years, I thought I was crazy. Every time your mother treated me like dirt, every time Jake made those little comments about my background, every time you defended them, I kept telling myself I was imagining things. Emma, I had no idea about this. You have to believe me." "I do." She wiped her eyes. "That's what makes it worse. They manipulated both of us right from the start. Your mother never got over your dad's second wife taking half his money in the divorce. She was so convinced I was another gold digger that she orchestrated this whole thing." The pieces started falling into place. Jake's insistence on handling the proposal arrangements. My mother's constant presence in our early marriage, always watching Emma like a hawk. The way Jake would make subtle digs about Emma's modest upbringing at every family gathering. "The fountain wasn't even your idea, was it?" Emma asked quietly. I closed my eyes, remembering. "Jake suggested it. Said you'd mentioned loving that park." "I hate that park. Always have. It's where my parents told me they were divorcing." The weight of a decade's worth of manipulation settled over us. Every major moment of our marriage had been tainted by this secret plot, this hidden document, this betrayal orchestrated by the people I trusted most. "Why didn't you say something when you found the prenup last week?" Emma's laugh was hollow. I needed proof that I wasn't crazy, that all these years of feeling like an outsider in your family weren't just in my head. Then Sophie wanted to watch the video, and I remembered Jake filming everything that night. I hoped that the truth would be there. I finished. She nodded, tears flowing freely now. Your mother's voice? She didn't even know me, Daniel. She just decided I was a threat because I wasn't from money like your family. I reached for her hand, but she pulled away. Don't, not yet. I need you to understand something first. Emma stood up, pacing the room. For 10 years, I've lived with this cloud over our marriage. Every time I succeeded in my business, every time I suggested investing our money, every time I wanted to make a major purchase, I second-guessed myself. Wondered if your mother would see it as proof she was right about me. The TV was still playing silently in the background. I could see myself sliding the ring onto Emma's finger, both of us smiling, completely unaware of the conspiracy unfolding behind us. What should have been one of the happiest moments of our lives had been poisoned by lies and suspicion. I need to make a call, I said, standing up. To Jake. No, I pulled out my phone. To my lawyer. We're going to make this right, starting with voiding that prenup. Emma's eyes widened. Daniel. Then we're going to have a long overdue conversation with my mother and Jake. But first, I held out my hand to her. I want to propose again. No prenup, no hidden agendas, no manipulative best man or interfering mother. Just us. For the first time since the video started playing, Emma smiled, a real smile that reached her eyes. You really never knew. Emma, I spent 10 years wondering why you sometimes seemed afraid to fully be yourself around my family. Now I know, and I swear things are going to change. As if on cue, Sophie's voice drifted down from upstairs. Can I come back now? I want to see Daddy put the ring on. Emma and I looked at each other, and despite the weight of everything we just discovered, we laughed. Our daughter's innocent excitement was a reminder that while we couldn't change the past, we could definitely reshape our future. But first, we had some justice to serve, and it would start with a simple phone call that would shake my family's foundation to its core. The next 48 hours felt like walking through an emotional minefield. After calling my lawyer, Richard Chen, who was equally appalled by the fraudulent prenup, we decided to handle this strategically. Rather than confront everyone separately, we'd deal with it like ripping off a Band-Aid. All at once. Sunday dinner at our house, I told my mother over the phone. And make sure Jake comes. We're celebrating Emma's new business contract. Emma raised an eyebrow at my lie, but I saw approval in her eyes. For once, we'd be the ones setting the trap. When Sunday arrived, Emma was unusually calm as she prepared dinner. 10 years of practice hiding my feelings in this family, she explained when I commented on it. Tonight, I finally get to stop pretending. Sophie was at her grandmother's, my father's widow Martha. Ironically, the very woman my mother had warned me about. The gold digger who turned out to be the only genuine parent figure in my life after Dad died. Jake arrived first, wearing his usual smug smile. Something smells amazing, Em. Still cooking like you're trying to earn your place, huh? I saw Emma's hands tighten around the serving spoon, but her voice remained steady. Actually, Jake, I thought we could watch some home videos before dinner, for old time's sake. Before Jake could respond, the doorbell rang. My mother swept in, perfect as always in her designer outfit and pearls. Daniel, darling, but where's Sophie? With Martha, I replied, watching her face sour at the mention of my stepmother. We thought this should be an adults-only dinner. We gathered in the living room, Jake and my mother exchanging a quick glance that I would have missed if I hadn't been looking for it. Emma connected her laptop to the TV, and I felt my heart race. Before we discuss my business news, Emma said smoothly, I found our engagement video the other day. Jake, since you filmed it, I thought you might enjoy seeing your handiwork. The color drained from Jake's face. Oh, that old thing. Nobody wants to see that. I insist. Emma's voice was steel wrapped in silk. The video began playing, and I watched Jake and my mother grow increasingly tense as the timestamp approached 2:13. When the whispered conversation became audible, Jake jumped to his feet. This is ridiculous. It's obviously been doctored. Sit down, I ordered, surprising even myself with the authority in my voice. We're just getting started. Emma pulled out a folder. This is the prenup you tricked me into signing, Jake. The one you and Mrs. Harrison conspired to create. She turned to my mother. Did you know it's illegal to fraudulently misrepresent documents during marriage proceedings? My mother's perfect composure cracked. Daniel, surely you understand we were protecting you. From what? I demanded. From the woman who helped me build my business, who supported me when I wanted to leave the family company, who gave you a grandchild you've spent 8 years treating like she's somehow less worthy because of her mother. You don't understand. My mother's voice rose. Your father lost half his money to Martha, yes. The woman who stayed by his side through cancer, who made his last years happy, who still checks on me and loves Sophie unconditionally. Unlike you, who's been poisoning my marriage from day one. Jake tried a different approach. Come on, Dan. We were young. I was just doing what I thought was best. By betraying your best friend? Emma's voice cut through his excuses. By spending 10 years making subtle jabs about my background. Tell me, Jake, was it worth it? Did she pay you well to help destroy our happiness? The silence that followed was deafening. My mother's face had gone from pale to red. Everything I did for this family. No, I corrected her. Everything you did out of bitterness and prejudice. And now you're both going to face the consequences. I handed them each an envelope. Inside, you'll find papers from my lawyer. Jake, you're being sued for fraud and legal malpractice. Say goodbye to your law license. Mother, you're named as a co-conspirator. But more importantly, I took Emma's hand. You're going to lose your son unless you make this right. You're choosing her over family? My mother's voice shook. Emma is my family. Sophie is my family. You're just someone who spent 10 years trying to break us apart. Jake opened his envelope, his hands trembling. Dan, please, my career. Should have thought about that before you betrayed me. I stood up. You have 24 hours to sign those papers, admitting what you did and accepting the consequences. If you don't, we go public. I'm sure the Bar Association would love to hear about a lawyer tricking someone into signing fraudulent documents. My mother started crying, real tears or manipulation. I couldn't tell anymore. Daniel, everything I own is in the family trust. If this gets out, then you'll lose it all. Emma finished. Just like you planned for me to lose everything if Daniel ever discovered your imaginary gold digger scenario. The irony seemed to hit my mother like a physical blow. She stared at Emma with new eyes, perhaps finally seeing the strength that had always been there. The dinner's getting cold. Emma said calmly, you should both leave. We'll expect those signed papers tomorrow. Oh, and Mrs. Harrison. Emma's composure cracked slightly. Sophie's 8th birthday is next month. If you want to be there, you'll need to do a lot more than just sign papers. You'll need to change. After they left, Emma and I stood in our kitchen, the untouched dinner growing cold. Are you okay? I asked her. She smiled, and for the first time in 10 years, it reached her eyes completely. I feel like I can finally breathe. But Daniel, are you okay? That's your mother and best friend we just destroyed. I pulled her close. No, we just held them accountable. There's a difference. Emma relaxed into my embrace. Sophie's going to have questions, and we'll answer them honestly. She needs to know that standing up against injustice is more important than keeping the peace. As we stood there, I realized something profound had shifted. The invisible weight that had been pressing down on our marriage for a decade was finally lifting. But as Emma's tears soaked my shirt, I knew this was just the beginning of our healing journey. Tomorrow would bring either signed papers or a legal battle. But for tonight, we had won something more valuable than any lawsuit. We had reclaimed our truth. 1 month later, Sophie's 8th birthday party was in full swing in our backyard. Kids ran around playing games while parents chatted near the refreshment table. But my eyes kept drifting to the corner where my mother sat, looking smaller somehow without her usual designer outfit and perfect makeup. The signed papers had arrived the day after our confrontation, along with something unexpected, a handwritten letter from my mother requesting therapy sessions together. Jake had simply disappeared, moving to another state according to his wife, who left him after learning the truth. Your mother's actually playing with the kids, Emma remarked, joining me by the grill. Never thought I'd see the day. It was true. The woman who once refused to sit on the ground because it might wrinkle her clothes was now helping Sophie and her friends make flower crowns in the grass. The therapy was working, slowly but surely. The past month had been a roller coaster. After the papers were signed, Emma and I created a new legitimate prenup, one that protected both of us equally. But more importantly, we started our own therapy sessions, unpacking a decade of hidden tensions and rebuilding our foundation. Sophie asked me something interesting this morning, Emma said, watching our daughter laugh with her grandmother. She wanted to know if we were happier now because we fixed the broken video. I smiled. Leave it to an 8-year-old to simplify something so complex. What did you tell her? That sometimes fixing broken things makes them stronger than they were before. The wisdom in those words struck me. Our marriage hadn't just survived this crisis, it had transformed. Emma no longer second-guessed her place in the family. I no longer felt torn between loyalty to my mother and love for my wife. The truth, as painful as it had been, had set us all free. Martha, my stepmother, appeared with the birthday cake, ready for the big moment. As everyone gathered to sing, I watched 3 generations of women in my life, Martha, my mother, and Emma, working together to light the candles. The sight would have been impossible a month ago. Make a wish, sweetheart, Emma called as Sophie closed her eyes. After the cake was served, my mother approached us hesitantly. Daniel, Emma, I've been doing a lot of thinking in therapy, about control, about fear, about letting the past poison the present. Emma tensed beside me, but her voice was gentle. And I was wrong. About everything. I was so scared of losing another family fortune that I never stopped to consider I was losing something more valuable. My son's trust, my granddaughter's love, the chance to know an amazing daughter-in-law. Tears ran down her cheeks, and for the first time in my life, I saw my mother as she really was, not the powerful matriarch, but a wounded woman whose fear had driven her to wound others. I found this yesterday, she said, pulling out an old photograph. It's me, right after your father married his first wife. I was so young, so sure I knew everything about love and marriage. I wanted to protect you from making what I thought were my mistakes. Instead, I nearly ruined your happiness. Emma took the photo, studying it. You look happy here. I was. Before I let bitterness change me. My mother touched Emma's arm. Can we start over? Not just playing nice at parties, but really trying to be a family. Before Emma could respond, Sophie ran up with her flower crown. Grandma, I made this for you. And look, Mom helped me make it perfect. The symbolism wasn't lost on any of us. 3 generations, creating something beautiful together. My mother placed the crown on her head, tears flowing freely now. It's perfect, sweetheart. Just like our family. Later that night, after Sophie was in bed surrounded by new toys, Emma and I sat in our backyard. The party decorations swayed in the evening breeze, and somewhere inside, my mother was helping Martha clean up, another small miracle. You know what I keep thinking about? Emma said, curled against me on the porch swing. That engagement video. How something that was meant to hurt us ended up healing us instead. She was right. Without that accidental discovery, we might have spent another decade living under the shadow of lies and manipulation. Sometimes the most painful truths bring the most profound healing. We should make a new video, I suggested. Our real story. For Sophie, when she's older. Emma smiled, including the part where her daddy finally stood up to his mother. Including everything. The good, the bad, and the healing. Speaking of which, I pulled out a small box. I believe I promised you a new proposal. No hidden agendas this time. Under the same stars that had witnessed our first engagement, but with hearts unburdened by secrets, we began again. And this time, the only voices in the background were the wind in the trees and our daughter's peaceful breathing drifting down from her open window. Sometimes life's biggest plot twists turn out to be blessings in disguise. Our marriage hadn't just survived a decade-old conspiracy. It had emerged stronger, truer, and more beautiful than before. Like Sophie's flower crown, we had taken broken pieces and woven them into something new. And somewhere in our house, an old video gathered dust, not as a weapon, but as a reminder that love, when it's real, can survive any revelation.